Hello gamers, Mucklick here, and this video is my thoughts on Janthir Wilds and how it is going, what did I think about it, how was the release, and all of that good stuff. What you see here is just some bullet points to remind me what I want to talk about. I did these for Soto, and they were pretty well received, so here we are again. First off, how was the launch? Smooth. It was extremely smooth, at least on my end. It was literally just like I was online at patch time. They did the usual turn off your game, turn it back on to get the patch. Did it, was able to jump right in. That's it. I had no problems. The biggest problem they had during Soto was there was one quest that was a required quest, and only one person at a time could interact with it, and people formed like a single file line, and it was a really cool example of how nice the community was. It sucked at the same time, you know, like none of us wanted to stand there in line, but it was a good show of, you know, how everybody was acting. But there was nothing like that this time. There were some problems, there were some glitches, and there still are some, but the launch went completely smooth and they did a good job with that. So I think that that's worth talking about and worth praising. So after that, you know, you immediately jump into the story. That is the main way that you get your character there. By the way, going from this point forward, what I'm going to talk about will include spoilers. So if you don't want that, you could bookmark the video and watch it later if you wish to, but you have been warned. Okay, no holding back now. I'm gonna tell you all about how Bram killed Aurene, and I'm really pissed about it. All right, now that we got all the people panicking that didn't actually play it. First off, this is the prologue. I really like the prologue. Now, if you were someone that really doesn't like the story and you just wanted to get to the thing as fast as possible, you're probably one of the people who are complaining about that on the Reddit. And I have seen some of that, and I can kind of understand. You know, if they were just trying to get to the new place to unlock spears as fast as possible for some reason, I don't know, they didn't care about the story. It was basically an unskippable, like 20-30 minute cutscene because of the way that it was set up. It was just a big conversation, and then you occasionally would say something. I loved it, okay? Now, I do not know all the lore of the game. I know a lot. There's much I don't know though, you know? I am the spongy potato, not the wooden one. He knows far more than me, for example. However, at that meeting, I recognized characters from the core game, Heart of Thorns, Path of Fire, End of Dragons, Secrets of the Obscure, Every Living World episode, and, hold on, the Ghosts of Ascalon novel. There were characters from all of those in that meeting. It was a lore bonanza. I was loving it. There was so much stuff that was said there. There was little notes and stuff around the room. There was some people that, Dugan was upstairs. He's from the Ghost book. He was upstairs and he was like, you know, eating the chocolates. And he's like, yeah, I'm letting them use my place because they needed a, you know, neutral ground, and, you know, I qualified. There was a note about how like everybody wanted to bring their own like 80-man personal guard, and they had to convince everybody that the Lion Guard, you know, we swear the Lion Guard will keep you from killing each other. So the Empress didn't bring her guard and the Queen didn't bring her guard, etc. There was tension between the Asuran delegate and the Canthan one for basically stealing technology from each other. It was crazy. It was really cool. I loved it. And it was wonderful. Now, I wouldn't want to go through that 30-minute thing again on an alt, you know, which I would just skip that. But it was really good, and I think they did a great job there. After that, you know, it goes into the, like, hey, would you go to the north and, you know, go to Janthir Wilds? After this whole thing with the dragons and then with the Cryptus, we want to get more allies. And there's a group of Coden up there we want to ally with. And I like that. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. I do love when you go into an expansion and it does like throw an antagonist at you pretty quickly. There's a place for that. I love that they did that with Ceres. I loved the beginning of Soto. I kind of hated how quickly they were done with Ceres. I wish they dragged that out longer. However, I do like that. On the flip side, I do not like, for example, World of Warcraft, which I played for 10 years. Every expansion, you find out that the last big bad was actually a minion of a bigger, badder bad. Every time. Oh, that guy that we just exhausted all our resources fighting, he was just a tribute. Oh my god, and then there's a guitar solo in the distance, you know, in the clouds part, and it's like, oh, here we freaking go. You know, and it got repetitive. So it was kind of cool this time, starting off with just a slightly more mundane thing, and then it built into something later on, which is when we found out about the Titans later. I liked how the writing went. Also, going back to the meeting, it was clear whoever did the writing for that meeting was familiar with the story. Now, I am not saying that the people who did the writing for Soto were not familiar with the story, but I'm saying it was like abundantly clear that whoever did the writing for that was familiar with the entire stretch of the game so far and the novels, and I freaking loved that. I really, really enjoyed that. So anyway, we go there, we meet the bears, you know, what is it? Frody from the Wizards. He's like, hey, while you're down there, keep an eye out for this, wizard that we lost a while back. They might be up to no good. And you're like, all right. So you go down there, you meet the bears. They're pretty cool. You have to do this weird quest where you basically beat the hell out of a Warclaw and then ask it if this rag smells like chloroform like 15 times before you get back to camp. I was covered in bite marks by the time I got back there. And then, you know, the Warclaw then, you know, joins you and becomes your new pet. And it's like, oh, okay. That was a weird one, but we got that done. And yo, look, you're making faces, chat. That was essentially the quest. So we get down there. And, you know, we meet all the new characters, and most of them were fine. I thought it was kind of cool that the bears had super deep, like, gravelly voices, and they talked slowly.
You return with more than another journeykin, Spearmaster.
Kind of, it reminded me of the Ents in the Lord of the Rings a little bit, you know, like these big, powerful creatures, and they were very slow and patient and stuff like that. And then we meet Poised Arrow. Now, Poised Arrow, it wasn't abundantly clear when, like, immediately when we met him. I think it has the same voice actor as Bram.
The role of Claw was taken, so I settled for a title more modest.
There's no secret at all that I am not fond of Bram as a character because of all of the stuff he did. Like, multiple times he, you know, got, you know, allies in positions where they basically ended up, you know, worse off because he was there. You know, he's not like evil, he wasn't trying to hurt us, but he has put us in worse positions so many times because of his mere presence or his actions, and I don't like him as a character. So I thought it was kind of funny that his voice actor is basically being used now for Bear Ram, aka Poised Arrow. It is a strong, slightly rebellious youth that doesn't listen, runs off on his own sometimes, gets into trouble, and lies to people when he gets back if needed. Now, to be fair, he still kind of did what he was told, but he was really complaining and whiny about it when he got back. Like, how many times are we going to retreat? We need to charge in there like idiots and scream. And I was just like, oh my God, Bear Ram, shut up. So it felt like the same character with the same voice actor, so it hit a little close to home. Maybe he had a little bit more restraint because there was a few missions where he seemed to be acting smart, but then he got like dumber as it progressed. So I feel like he's gonna do something. Like, it feels like they're setting up the writing for him to be more stupid later on, because it felt like he had more self-control at the beginning and he's getting more and more like screamy toward the end. Anyway, so that's him. We go on, you know, we get our homestead in chapter 3. That was really cool. There was this one really weird scene where the what's his name, Stoic Alder, he's like, oh yeah, you should build your own bed here. It'll be good for like breaking you into the place. Also, this is your house now. And I gotta say, considering it's my house, they break and enter a lot. I cannot tell you how many times we came back to my house and people I didn't know were there were in my house. And like, it was really uncomfortable when I put down my bed with like my quilt on it that I sewed by hand. I'm very proud of that. And I put it down, and Stoic Alder is like talking to Poised Arrow, and he's like, oh, I remember this pattern. I used to beep your mother on a bed with this same pattern. And then Poised Arrow's like, oh, remember when I used to snuggle between the two? And Stoic's like, oh, you wouldn't fit between us now. And I'm like, can y'all leave? Like, this is really uncomfortable. And then, what's her name? Waiting Sorrow walks in, and Stoic Alder starts rizzing her up right in front of my bed. And he's like, oh, speaking of mothers, hello. And then freaking Poised Arrow is just like, oh my God, that's my dad. I can tell my dad likes her. He's putting on the moves. And I'm just like, you guys said this is my house. All of you leave. All of you freaking get out. Okay, some of you are like making faces in chat. I am paraphrasing. That is what happened, though. I'm not lying. That is what happened. Go back and look at the scene if you don't believe me. So he starts rizzing her up in your bedroom, and I was just like, oh my god. So that was insane. That was a really, really weird sequence of events. Anyway, the story continues. We go on. We find out that the wizard lady, who she is, we find out like she's kind of been in hiding because she felt like her people needed her, which was kind of interesting because I was under the impression that when the wizards people become wizards, they lose a bunch of their memories, and maybe she did, but she still remembered her people and then wanted to be there for them. Whereas like Zoja sort of forgot most of what she knew when she became a wizard, and Lear forgot most of the dwarves when he became a wizard. In fact, that whole meta in Skywatch Archipelago is he's sort of getting those memories back, but he feels like Mabon wronged him, and then he's really mad about it because he's like, you tricked me, and Mabon's like, that's not how it happened. And so it was kind of interesting / weird. Maybe it affects them in different ways, but maybe she was a special case. Yeah, maybe she was. I'm not like shining a spotlight on that one thing. I'm just sharing my thoughts right now. So she was pretty cool with her magic, and then the bears were very leery about magic, and then I think that they kind of got them used to it. Like, no, wait, she's used this to heal me. She saved my life, stuff like that. I think they handled that pretty well. We get our Warclaw with its special abilities through there that are used a lot during the content. And go through the story. We find the Titans. I kind of like that we didn't kill the Titans immediately and that they're still an ongoing threat. I did feel it felt kind of silly because I even joked about this in the story, because like near the end of it, we're fighting the Titans and there's 6 of us and we're fighting 2 Titans and winning. And I'm like, wow, these Titans aren't that bad. It's like 1 Titan is worth 3 people. These aren't that bad. We bring the whole pack, and we could fight like 30 Titans at once. These things suck. They're no big deal. But then, of course, you go do the meta event, and 1 Titan is worth like 25, 50 people, so it was clearly just like a scaling issue. But it definitely made me feel like they were way weaker than I assumed they were, just because I was just trading blows with them just fine. And then, of course, there's the new Titan. I forget their name. I think it would start with a U, like Uwu or something. So Uwu shows up and saves the other 2. And then, which made Bear Ram do his most recent tantrum. How many times are we gonna let him get away? As if we had a freaking choice. There was like a force field in the path. So Bear Ram gets mad again. Breaking news. And then we go back to my house where Kaith sat on the fireplace, and we had a long talk about that. And all I could think about then was that there was a stool that was embedded in my fireplace, because now I know from how they set up the Homestead feature that when they want an NPC to sit on something, they have to embed a stool in that something. So I can't stop thinking about the fact that there's a stool in my fireplace now. But it was pretty cool. The whole thing was pretty cool. Overall, I enjoyed the story. I think it was pretty good. I kind of hate how Bear Ram is the exact same character as Brim. Like, it feels like the same thing. Like, he's like, they're really building him up to do some reckless, stupid thing in the future, and I pray I'm wrong about that. But other than that, I think the story is good, and I really enjoyed it. Especially all the threads that they pulled from the other stuff, like the leader of Alona meeting the leader of Kanang, meeting the leader of Divinity's Reach, and the representatives from the different races, even though Bram was there. In the different races, they even had like the frogs and the Kodan and the Skrit were all there, and they were listening in, even though they didn't have anything to say during that meeting. The Sylvari mentioning the fact that the Pale Tree they've been unable to heal her. There's been no mention of the Pale Tree since she got wounded in like freaking when was that? God, someone help me. I think it was like Living World Season 2. She has been, dude, it is a shame we've never met a dragon of healing. It is such a shame that we don't know anyone like that who could solve things like Timy's muscular dystrophy, or the wounded Pale Tree, or Logan who had his arm in a sling for 2 years, or Zoja who was comatose for like 3 years. But, oh man, I guess I'm just wishing upon a star right now because it's a freaking shame we don't know a dragon of healing. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent right now. So, the story. Overall, the story, I enjoyed it. It was quite good. Next thing I wrote down, the zones. The zones. The zones of the game, I think, are freaking beautiful. I think they did a good job. I love the vibe. I love, oh my god, the combat music. The combat music. It makes me feel like I was playing it. Dude, there was a Valraven bounty I did, and it started jamming, and I felt like I was fighting the Griffin at the beginning of Witcher 3. I was jamming out. It was amazing. I really enjoyed the music in this game. Some of it, it's like, I'm gonna put it on a playlist with some of the Heart of Thorns music. Like, it was fantastic. So, I have really good things to say about like the landscape, the environment, the combat music, stuff like that. It was good. I think they did a good job with the zones. Bog Queen, yep, I mean, she's hot. So yeah, what am I gonna say about that? All right, the meta. The first zone, they chose not to put a meta in it. And you know what? That's fine. You know, they decided that there's so many zones in the game with metas. Why not have a zone where you could just focus on just chill, just being chill, you know? Pull some weeds, you know, turn into a fish, flop up river, fight a bog queen, you know, chill activities. Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. And then the meta in the second zone is basically just like, yo, boss is here. Let's move, and then that's it. There's no it's literally just like, it's here, get in there, do the business, get it done. Like, it is the strike of metas. You walk in, kill boss, get loot, get out. And I love that, that's fantastic. It was bugged on day 1. I think they fixed it by day 2 or day 3, so that was good, you know, quick patching. That was good quick patching. So I'm pretty happy with the meta, you know, it's simple stuff. Spears. One of my favorite things of the expansion is anything that adds new builds and diversity to the game, because, you know, most of us play the story once, but then we might do strikes 1,000 times, or PvP 1,000 times, or World v World for thousands of hours. New ways of fighting change those things and keeps them funky fresh, right? So in Heart of Thorns, it was elite specs, like Druid, and Path of Fire was elite specs, like Firebrand, who then dominated for 5 years. In End of Dragons, it was elite specs, like Mechanist. In Secrets of the Obscure, it was Weapon Master specialization, like getting to use a Druid Staff on an Untamed, which invented the Heal Untamed build. Or it was the new weapons for classes, like the Necromancer getting swords, which for some reason are a ranged weapon. You know, stuff like that. Those are the things I really love, because, you know, comes up with whole new builds just added to the game. Spears are that. They create new builds in various game modes. Now, some of them are stupid, you know, some of them are bad builds, but some of them are great. Currently, at the time of this recording, I'm hearing that Revenant and Thief and Mesmer are absolutely popping off in PvE with their spears, doing stupid damage. I'm hearing that Guardians are loving their spear in World versus World, and, you know, just different ones are having different strengths, and it's really cool to see, because, you know, it's just like a ripple effect on the whole game. So, do I think that every spear is perfect? No, but I love that they're trying and still finding ways to add, you know, some refreshing new stuff into the game. Masteries. So the masteries that they added to the game, in this one, they added a Warclaw mount line, the Lowland Coden line, which notably has spear training, and homesteading. Now, homesteading, if you don't plan on doing the decorating, just to make things pretty, this is basically, you know, nothing, and the collection box. Now, the collection box, I have already shouted the praises of. It allows you to essentially, like, interact with the box and collect all of the loot in your home instance in just like a few clicks, turning what used to be my 10 minutes a day home instance farm into, you know, seconds. And in those seconds, I get somewhere between 50,000 and 100,000 XP in Janthir. So all of the masteries I'm not actively working on filling the bar are getting lazily filled up day by day, and also giving me all of the materials that used to take me 10 minutes a day to get. So that's awesome. I'm very much a function over form kind of guy, and I love that. If you care about the decorating though, this stuff all allows you to do the crazy decorating, and I'll look forward to seeing what type of things that people create. The Warclaw mount stuff, I think they did a good job. I kind of had my doubts on them making the Warclaw useful, but it does feel faster now. You know, you can do these crazy, like look at this. This is pretty neat. You got these crazy jumps and stuff you can do. It's immune, well, after you get some masteries, it's immune to falling damage. It has, like, you know, sniff up treasure, the chain pull, the lance, stuff like that. I think that they did a good job of making this a fun mount, and I actually replaced my hotkey for my default mount for Raptor to be this, because I am using this a lot. What mastery did I do first? Spears. I unlocked spears, and then I went all the way down this because I wanted the collect all button, but that was just me, and now I'm working on Warclaw stuff. I will say there was a few things. For example, there was a Warclaw race in the first zone, And I now know you really need to have falling damage reduced to 0 and the double jump to be able to do that race. I tried it without having those, and it was just really frustrating. And I was just like, this is so painful. You kind of need those. But once you get this other stuff, it's pretty cool. You know, some of these, like this is kind of whatever, but this, you know, adds a, you know, CC to your throw spear. I'm looking forward to that. And this just more endurance regen for all your mounts is going to be a very slight increase of, you know, nice feature for all the mounts. So that's nice. Mastery points are abundant. That's another thing. Like each of the zones has like half a dozen to a dozen masteries just spread around the map. That's nice. You know, you will still need to get some from like achievements. And this is my daily reminder that you can go here and just say, show me the Janthir masteries only, and then here's the ones that you need, and then you can just turn that filter off when you're done with it. So overall, I think the masteries are fine. In the past, they have sometimes made masteries like where they make a problem and then they make a mastery to solve the problem. Those I dislike. An example of that is the Raven Gates in Icebrood Saga. They're like, here's a door you can't open. Earn this mastery to open that door. And it's just like, okay. So, yeah, those aren't fun. Yeah, those aren't really fun. These, though, these are just cool new features. And, you know, it's tricky for them to make neat new features that don't make us incredibly overpowered. Because we have got 10 years of these features piling up. They have to be careful not to, you know, make power creep any worse than it already is. Like, I'll say I don't really care about these beehive things, but the rest of this is useful. It's useful, and I dig it. All right, homesteads themselves. Like I said, the collection box is for people like me that prefer function over form, but if you prefer decorating, you could do all kinds of crazy stuff. Loranity showed a lot of it off in her video where she tried out homesteads and like place stuff all over the place, but it's got, and also the area in here is huge, and that's really important because like one, you have a ton of space to work with here, okay? You have an absolute ton of space and upwards as well. What that means is you can make massive roller beetle or griffin tracks in here and do like races and all kinds of stuff. And I know that people are going to make some absolutely insane things. Honestly, the only thing I'm thinking about with that is that the limit of 1,000 things placed per homestead is going to not be enough. So I'm very curious to see if they ever raise that limit because some people are going to need more. But yeah, the homesteads, they did a good job. There are features that, for example, I don't care about decorating. I like the collection boxes, as I've said. So that's not a feature for me, but it's a feature I know my fellow players enjoy. There are a ton of people in Guild Wars 2 that wanted player housing. And this is closer to true player housing than the home instances were. So I know a lot of people are happy. And that's cool. I'm happy for them. Warclaw, I think I already talked about that. They did a good job with that. Also, if you had already done the slightly more tedious method of unlocking the Warclaw in World vs. World, you got a War Machine skin box in the mail and 250 skirmish claim tickets. That's not bad. They didn't have to do that. They could have just said, yeah, we're changing the way you get a Warclaw. It'll be easier going forward. And then people who had just earned it the difficult way would have been like, ugh, and I just did all that time. But they chose to give us all 250 freaking claim tickets.
Hey,
like,
look,
that's
it's
huge.
The tree of birds. How are you?
That's huge. Like, anyone who's working on, like, legendary World v World armor, or the Warbringer backpack, or Conflux, the legendary ring, those 250 tickets are massive and welcome. And then the War Machine skins just look freaking cool. So yeah, I think they handled that pretty well. The Lowland Coden Masteries, which includes the spears, again, the beehives I don't really care about. You know, getting more XP is awesome, getting more materials is awesome. More stuff on the vendors, okay, and then the spear is the big one. The spear is the biggest thing here, and I appreciate them having it right here at the beginning. Warclaw changes, you know, I mentioned this sort of, they made it faster, it can effectively double jump, it has 3 stamina bars in PvE, it has access to the, you know, throw spear, the chain pull, the sniff, can dig up treasure if you find buried treasure inside of Janthir, and then of course in World v World, it's now very easy for a brand new player to World v World to get the the Warclaw. They just have to spend their very first World v World talent point on unlocking the Warclaw. So be sure to, if you have any new player friends, tell them to do that. And then they've got it. And then, you know, they still got to unlock the other skills in there, but they've got it right away. So they're not having to run on foot behind blobs and be slow. So that's great. Also, if you are a player who just is terrified of World v World and you aren't going to Janthir, you can go into World v World, spend that 1 point on unlocking the Warclaw in there. You just go here and you spend a point right there, and then you get the Warclaw through that method, if you wish to. So that is an option. The Homestead itself, I think I already talked about that. Wizard's Vault. The Wizard's Vault, the new batch of stuff on the Wizard's Vault was kind of interesting. They tried something new here. So if I go to the rewards, they had some skins, they had the usual good stuff. The new legendary kit includes the spear in it. I kind of expected that. So, you know, and Twilight, Juggernaut and Incinerator were in the last kit. This one has Twilight and Kamohawahawahawa, the spear. So that's pretty cool. A lot of people excited about that. And also, they did something new, and that was the Falling Star quest license. That is a Ascended Spear. If you haven't seen it already, I have a guide on that coming out, but that is an Ascended Spear and Ascended Gloves of an armor weight of your choice for 1,000 AA for doing a little quest line. And the quest line is pretty cool. You know, it's an artifact. It immediately sets off alarms at the wizard police, and they're like, hey, can you check this out? If it's anything below, you know, an S tier cataclysm artifact, you can keep it. But if it's something super powerful, please let us know. And so you're like, yeah, sure, I'm on it. Because you're going to go, you know, wayfind. And you check it out and you're like, all right, I found it. It like melted the area around it. And it's like stuck in the ground. It like slagged the rock. I can't pull it out. So then you work on inventing like a gauntlet. It'll, rip this thing out of the ground like you're pissed off King Arthur. And like the whole quest was pretty short, but it was pretty neat. And then you end up with the gauntlet and the spear, and they work together while you're using both. Like the gauntlet had an infusion, and while you have either the skin of that gauntlet plus the spear, or the infusion on your gear plus the spear heats up and like is letting off flames and stuff. So that was pretty clever, and I think this is a sign of things to come. I think that was kind of an experiment, and they're going to probably have more quest licenses on the AA store in the future. And I ended up, at first, because I have legendaries for the gloves and spear. I didn't need this, so I did it just because chat was like, hey, Mutt, can you make a guide on this? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. I'm not really doing anything right now. So I did it just to make a guide on it, and I actually had a lot of fun. So it was an enjoyable thing, and so now it's kind of left me looking forward to, if they do more of these quest licenses, what they're going to include. So I think that was a cool addition of something to the Wizard's Vault, and if it was an experiment, I say that I hope they enjoyed the outcome of it. New relics. New relics. So if we go here, now first of all, it's worth talking about legendary relics. Legendary relics, they said that legendary relics, if you had them, they would not have future stuff on them until you got them. So as an example, if your legendary relic has all the Soto relics on it, but then a Janthir relic comes out, you have to acquire the Janthir relic at least one time. Then they show up on the drop-down list for the legendary relic. And I think that's completely fair. Like, imagine they introduce this new crazy thing everybody wants, and it comes from that raid boss, and then all the people in Lion's Arch that have legendaries just are like, and they just change into it, and you're like, you haven't even left town yet, man. Are you serious? Like, a lot of people have, okay, you know what, no, that was a misspeak. A few people that are just really noisy in my YouTube comment section are like, oh, is this bullcrap that we have to unlock these things? We made legendary, so we never have to think about this again. And I'm like, I don't think this is that bad. And they're like, oh, would you really believe that if it was legendary armor and they released a new stat? And I was just like, you mean if they released a new stat, like when they released Ritualists or Dragon stats, if I had to go get one piece of that to unlock it on my gear? No, I don't think that's a big freaking deal. That's fine. So yeah, I think this is kind of cool. It it gives you something else to strive for. There's these 6 new relics. Personally, the one I've got my eye on right now is Relic of Rivers. Gives you a bunch of alacrity and regen after a dodge. If you play Daredevil or Vindicator, boingy boingy boing, you are going to be triggering this all the freaking time in the open world, and that is going to make your open world experience crazy. My only fear is that they're going to nerf this, so like put an internal cooldown on it. If they're going to do that, I kind of hope they leave it how it is, which is kind of busted for open world, and and just put an ICD on it for like competitive game modes like raids or something if it's really a problem there. Probably not, but you know, if they feel the need to, I kind of hope they leave it alone for open world, because right now it's just a fun thing for open world. But yeah, the new relics, I think some of them are kind of cool. You got Relic of the Blightbringer, which is kind of like Fractal, but for poison builds. You know, there is some useful stuff. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So overall, I think that's, I've visited every bullet point that I wanted to talk about. The expansion itself, if I'm like rating it on a scale, to me, from 1 to 10, if 10 is perfection, like nearly unachievable perfection, this is an 8.5. Like, it's pretty high. It's pretty high. And again, I'm saying that 10 is like almost unachievable on this scale that I'm making up in my head. Like, I think this is like a solid 8.5. Like, I have enjoyed this. I don't regret the time or, you know, money I've spent to play here. I have enjoyed this. Now, could it be better? Sure. You know, day one, there was 3 bugs with the Homestead. Day one, you know, there was you know, like right this second, today, and I'm recording this on Friday, the engineer spear has got a glitch with it, which is making me want to not play my engineer until they fix it. There are some glitches. It's not perfect. But overall, the story, the visuals, the music, the fighting, it's been good. It has been good. Not perfect, but I've really enjoyed it, and it's left me looking forward to more. I've had a few people ask me how I thought it compares to Soto, and you got to keep in mind that so far we are just at launch, right? Soto had a big patch at 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months, okay? And those added more stuff to the game. In my opinion, they were not as interesting than the launch of Soto. The launch of Soto, I was kind of getting into, right? But then everything with like Interneos was like, brother, you know, I was not as fond of everything that panned out there. You know, like I'm just remembering that guy like, we're going to war. And I'm like, dude, there's 2 of us. This isn't a war. We're just skipping into Mordor right now. What are you talking about? You know, like it was, but I kind of liked the launch of Soto, like the Wizard Tower and like the police, and the Saris was awesome, you know, and all that stuff. It was just everything involving the Midnight King. It was just like we saw him twice and then it was over, and it was really hard to get invested. So it was just kind of whatever. So I am very much enjoying what I've seen so far of Janthir. I hope they deliver more of it, and we will see. It's kind of, the ball's in their court now to kind of keep it up in the air or to drop it, and we will see what happens. So I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say. At this point, I would just be blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I'm curious what you guys think. You know, if you've, assuming I didn't just spoil the hell out of you, you were warned. If you got any opinions on how you think Janthir was, if you think I am way freaking off, you hated it, or if you liked it and you agree, or somewhere in the middle, let me know. Put it in the comments section down below, and I'll fight you there.